Nama Om Vishnu Padaya. Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvisesa Sinyavadi Paska Chade Satarane. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvadutam Parijana Sahita Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Panchakapatibhascha Kipasandavibhata Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnaveva Namo Namaha. This is December 12th, 2025. And we're looking at the Nectar devotion. We're in the Southern Ocean. We're in the first wave of the Southern Ocean, part 3, on Vibhava Udipana. Thank you to all of you who've come on time. So this is the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the Nectar of Devotion. Bhakti is devotion. Rasa is juice, taste, pleasure, relationship. Impossible word to translate, Prabhupada says. Mellow, Amrita, nectar, eternal, and Sindhu Ocean. And here in the Southern Ocean, we're looking at the 5 components of rasa: vibhava, which is the stimulus; anubhava, the voluntary actions; sattvika bhava, involuntary reactions; vyavichari bhava or sanchari bhava, the moving, changing emotion; and sthai bhava, the steady or basic relationship. So we're still in the first wave of the Southern Ocean. We're in part 3. If the organizers could please mute people. So this is Nectar Devotion, chapter 26. And this is from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 2-1-301-2384. So then the components of rasa, you have the staibhav, which is the basic relationship. The staibhav, which is stimulated by the vibhav, resulting in abhibhav, resulting in sattvika bhav, acted upon by vyavichari bhav, and altogether producing rasa, where you have the basic connection stimulated, resulting in voluntary expressions, involuntary expressions, various changing emotions, all together, which form taste. So now we're looking in the vibhava section, in the udipana, which Srila Prabhupada calls impelling. This is related to the Lord and his devotees that stimulate love of God. So these are objects that stimulate love of God. And there's 4 main categories. So the first is the Lord's qualities, or guna. The second is cheshta, his adventures. The third is prasadana, embellishments and attire. And 4 is prakirna, just miscellaneous stuff. And here we understand vibhava. Vibhava, again, is what stimulates the basic relationship. And we've already studied alambana, that the object is Krishna in almost all cases. The object of the basic relationship is Krishna. Ashraya, the devotee, that's talking about ourselves, and other devotees who have a similar mood to us. And then Udipana is everything else. Udipana is like a catalyst, and Deepa is a light. What lights us up? What lights up our bhakti, all the other things. Okay, so looking at chapter 26. So here's a summary: 4 categories of Udipana: objects that stimulate love of Krishna. 1, guna, the Lord's qualities. 2, cheshta, his adventures. 3, prasadana, his embellishments and attire. And 4, prakirna, miscellaneous stimulants. So we're going to look at each of these in turn. Okay, so Krishna's qualities, which could be in the category of alambana or udipana, which we'll discuss shortly. So here Srila Rupa Goswami is looking at qualities according to Krishna's body, Krishna's speech, and Krishna's mind. According to body, he's looking at age, beauty, form. and softness. Age, he's looking at Kumara, Poganda, and Kaishora. And in this section, he's particularly looking at Kaishora. Later on in the Western Ocean, when he's looking at Vatsalya Staibhav, he's going to look at the stages of Kumara. When he's looking at Sankhya Staibhav, he's going to look at the stages of Poganda. For some reason, when he's looking at Madhurya Staibhav, he doesn't so much look at the stages of Kaishora, he looks at that here. So here, you're going to look at five. One, two, then three, four, five stages of Kaishora. So then the next, number 2, category is Krishna's actions. The third category of Udipana is Krishna's attire and accessories. His clothing, his hairstyle, his garlands, his tilak and different decorations, his tambula and his lotus. And then there's a whole bunch of miscellaneous ones. So I don't know why exactly Krishna's clothing and garland is here in attire and his ornaments are miscellaneous, but that's what they are. Then his smile, which is considered a separate category than his form. His fragrance, which is also considered a separate category than his form. His flute, all different kinds of flutes. His horn, his anklets, which are a separate category from his ornaments, that are a separate category from his attire. His conch, his footprints, which are considered in a separate category than his form. His places, tulasi, the devotees who are not ashraya, and festival days. Okay, so we mentioned this before, but again, Krishna's qualities, are they alambana vishaya or are they udipana? We know that Krishna's qualities are a vibhava. They're a stimulant, but are they in the category of alambana vishaya, one is attracted to Krishna, or are they something extra? So when one thinks that Krishna has a beautiful body, then the beautiful body is the alambana with the emphasis on Krishna. But when we think of the beauty of the body of Krishna, the emphasis is on the beauty, which becomes udipana. And I gave an ordinary example. Let's say you have a friend who's a good mridanga player, and you're feeling a sense of friendship with your friend Krishna Das. Ah, I really like Krishna Das. He's such a good friend, excellent mridanga player, And so thinking about your friend, who is an excellent mridanga player, inspires you with friendship. If your friend Krishna Das is playing the mridanga and you're watching his hands on the mridanga and you're going, wow, look at that mridanga playing, then that's an udipana. That also like, whoa, you really feel this friendship. So again, if it's Krishna, who's very clever, then it's Vishaya. It's alambana Vishaya. If it's, wow, look at Krishna's cleverness. Look at Krishna's cleverness. That's Udipana. So in the Nectar devotion, Prabhupada writes, Krishna's entourage is also Krishna. Krishna and everything related with Krishna, which gives stimulation to love of Krishna, are all Krishna. But for his understanding, these items may be considered separately. By the way, the demons are not part of his entourage. So again, this question. So the form of Krishna is the alambana, his ornaments, age, and other items act only as udipana. So some things are only udipana, like Krishna's age is only in udipana, not part of the alambana, but his qualities can act as both alambana and udipana. Alrighty. So we're going to look now at Krishna's qualities. And while we're looking at Krishna's qualities, I want you to think of the qualities. Well, we already discussed them 2 days ago. I'd like you to think about the qualities that really inspire you, because we're going to do a little writing on that. So we have qualities pertaining to his body, qualities pertaining to his speech, qualities pertaining to his mind. So bodily qualities are like softness, Mental qualities are like he's a genius. Speech qualities are like he's a linguist. If we had a lot more time, and we would ask we would give, and we were in person, we would give everybody the list of all the qualities and ask you to sort them out into bodily, mental, and speech. If you want to go more deeply into this and you have time, you can do this yourself. Okay, so here are the lists, which we'll come back to. We'll take you back to this slide. Don't worry. Now, some of you are familiar with our book, Krishna Meditations. And in Krishna Meditations, we have the fourth section of the book. We, my co-author, Kamala Sita, and I, we took each of Krishna's 64 qualities and we wrote a meditation on them, how we can remember these qualities in our regular life. So here's a meditation on that Krishna is forgiving. So we wrote this meditation as to help us go more deeply into an udipana. So I'm going to read this. A forgiving person is one who can tolerate all kinds of offenses from an opposing party and not feel resentment toward them. An extraordinary instance of Krishna's forgiveness was when Bhrigu Muni kicked the Lord's chest. Rather than getting angry at Bhrigu, the Lord apologized for the hardness of his chest and his failure to greet Bhrigu properly. Often our parents forgive us. Now, so we start off in this meditation with Krishna. So we start off with how Krishna displays his qualities. And then what we go to is we go to how we can meditate on these qualities in our life. How the things in our world, the people that we encounter, the things we encounter, the places we encounter can remind us of Krishna's qualities. So that's what we write here. Often our parents forgive us, just as Krishna forgave Bhrigu. They are so focused on our happiness that they hardly notice our offenses. Brahma gives the example of how a pregnant woman never takes offense when the child in her womb kicks her by stretching. The grass we trample on shows this quality of forgiveness in the Lord's universal form, Bhagavatam 269. Although we press it with our feet, it cushions our feet and happily bounces back. A cork in water has the same forgiving nature. No matter how many times it's pushed into the water, it bounces back. Okay? So this is what we think of in our life. And now we're bringing it back to Krishna. When we appreciate being forgiven by those we love, and we find peace and freedom in forgiving others. So when we're being forgiven and when we forgive, we can meditate on how glorious, compassionate, and liberating is the forgiveness of Krishna. So this is an example. So I'm going to want everyone here to take some individual writing time. We're going to give you 10 minutes. We're going to give you 10 minutes. And I want you to take any of the qualities of Krishna and write a meditation on how that quality can act as an udipana. So I'm going to go back to this slide of the qualities. I'd like you all right now to look at this slide and choose a quality, because I'm not going to stay on this slide. So please choose a quality. I'm going to give you about a minute to go through and choose a quality. You have a copy of the Nectar Devotion book with you. This list is in chapter 21, by the way. Everybody has written down one quality, because I'm going to go off this slide. Okay, I'm going to go to the sample of writing, and you don't have to write it like this. You could write it in another way, however you want to write it, whatever you want. But you have 10 minutes now to write. So I want you to take 10 minutes. I'm going to pause the recording. And I hope that you all enjoyed that. And this is the kind of thing that you can do on all of Krishna's qualities. If you are interested in our book, it is widely available. And we have, like I say, the last section of the book has meditations on each of the 64 qualities. It's called Krishna Meditations. Okay. Srila Goswami says that he's not going to describe further the verbal and mental qualities within Udipanas because they were already described under Alambana. So he's not going to describe verbal and mental. He's only going to describe bodily because he said they were mentioned briefly as Alambana, but now he's going to describe them more thoroughly as Udipana, and he's also going to mention beauty and mildness. So again, as we're going to go through this, I'd like you to think of which of these particularly act as an Udipana for you, because we are going to discuss that. So we have these three ages of Krishna: childhood Kumara from 0 to 5, boyhood Paganda from 6 to 10, and Kaishora from 11 to 16, and then Yovana. He's not discussing Yovana at all. Um, we can say that the Nava Yovana is another part of the age that manifests in Mathura and Dwarka. So in Dwarka, he's manifesting Yovana, and in Vrindavan, just Kumara, Poganda, and Kaishora. Now, his affectionate pastimes with his parents. And now, his parents are relating with him in all ages, but they particularly like to relate to him in his Kumara age. His friends are relating with him in all ages, but they're particularly like to relate with him in his Poganda age. And fractionally, those in Madhurya above have affection for him at all ages, although it's particularly in Kaishura. And then when he becomes 16, he goes to Mathura and Dwarka. So there's different subparts to Kumara and Poganda. However, in this part of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Goswami doesn't discuss them. He's going to discuss them in other parts. He's going to discuss the parts of Kumara and Vatsalyabhav and the parts of Poganda in Sakyabhav. So here, I don't know why he's doing it this way. But instead of talking about the parts of Kaishora with Madhuryabhav in the Southern Ocean, he's going to talk about them now. So in the spiritual world, Krishna exists eternally as Kaishora. And they're both the pastimes in the material world and spiritual world are eternal. And the Nityasiddha devotees can be having pastimes simultaneously in the material and spiritual world. There's one letter where Prabhupada says that Krishna only appears as Kaishora in the spiritual world and not in any other age. But then there's also places like Sanatana Goswami talking about all these ages appearing in the spiritual world. So different perspectives from different acharyas. So here, Srila Goswami is going to divide Kaishora into 3 parts. So in this section, in this particular section of the Nectar Devotion Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Goswami is going to be focusing on this. He's going to be focusing on these in another section. Again, I don't know why he's focusing on this here. So when we go into our discussion about which ages of Krishna you find most inspiring in your bhakti, we're really going to look at 5 options. Kumara in general, 0 to 5. Poganda in general, 6 to 10. Then Kaishora in 3 divisions, 11 and 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'd like you, as we're going through this, to make a note of which you find particularly inspiring. So again, we're asking, is this Alambana or Udipana? So the age of youth, Kaishora, is said to be the Swarupa, the Vishaya. It can also be the Udipana when it's appearing as one of the ages. So this just keeps being brought up. In other words, if you're thinking, Krishna, who's beautiful at 12 years old. That's Alambana if you're thinking, oh, Krishna's 12-year-old features. That's an Udipana. So 11 to 12, beginning of Kaishora. The luster of his body becomes bright. Blackish hue appears like the Indranila jewel. He gets reddish borders around his eyes and soft hairs on his body. Again, 11 to 12. His accoutrement, his typical accoutrement is Vajayanti garland, that means all the way down to his knees, peacock feather, costume of a dancer, sweetness of his flute playing, luster of his dress. Of course, he's playing his flute also in his Paganda age. He plays his flute, starts playing his flute near the end of his Kumara age. And again, this beginning, his brows are like the brows of Cupid, moving like they're dancing. The tips of his nails are soft like dried bamboo leaves, and his teeth are reddish. So we have a little note here that in order to convey the particular beauty of this age, there is a description of adopting the local customs, such as letting the fingernails grow sharp and coloring the teeth. But it should be understood that at this time, the exquisite beauty of such sharp nails and teeth, which derive the charm of crown jewels, appears spontaneously, and thus they are not included in the list of his accoutrements, which are consciously prepared. So again, we have the list of Udipanas as like Krishna's ornaments, right? But those are prepared. So Krishna's nails and teeth just spontaneously start appearing like this, even though it's in accord with the customs of the time of his appearance. So again, in this beginning, Vrinda Devi says, your newly invented smile, newly invented, has so captivated the hearts of the gopis that they are similarly unable to express themselves. As such, they have become bewildered and will not talk with others. So many years ago, I was visiting a temple that I visited often, and they put me where they usually put me. Now that's a different facility. But anyway, they put me in the same room where sannyasis, the GBC's gurus would stay. And there were a number of pictures on the walls. One of them was a picture of Srimati Radharani. Krishna was also in the picture, but it was focused on Srimati Radharani as very young, like 11 or 12 years old. And there was a stain on the wall. And so I kind of moved the pictures around to cover the stain. And that particular picture I removed from the room because when I rearranged, there wasn't space for it anymore. And so I put it in another place. So after I left, one other visiting preacher came, one sannyasi, and he immediately writes to me and he said, what did you do with that picture? He said, that's my favorite picture. This is how I like to meditate on Radha and Krishna at this age of 11 and 12. All right, now we go to the next category of Kaishora.
And what is that picture? Can we see that picture?
I don't have it handy, and I'm in the middle of a PowerPoint, so I'm not going to look for it now. Middle of his Kaishora, you can write me a note on WhatsApp, and I'll see if I can look for it, though. No promises. I have thousands and thousands and thousands of pictures, so I don't know if I could find it easily. The middle of his Kaishora age is 13 to 14 years. So here is described as indescribable beauty. The description is that it's indescribable. In his two thighs, his two arms, and his chest, sweetness in his whole form. His thighs challenged the trunks of elephants. Rising chest was trying to come to peace talks with doors of jewels. In other words, the doors of jewels were being defeated and they were wanting to have peace talks. His arms minimized the value of bolts formed on doors. Again, 13, 14. Face brilliant with a soft smile. His eyes restless with flirtation. Singing, which enchants the three worlds. Again, he was singing, of course, before this, but his singing becomes very enchanting. And here we have, this is when he's enjoying the Ras Leela. exhibiting the power of joking with the cowherd girls, enjoying their company in the bushes of the gardens by the bank of the Yamuna. So, in some places, by his clearly visible lac-staying footprints, in other places, by the plundered peacock feathers from his headdress, in other places, by beds strewn with discarded belts, by a multitude of disheveled groves and sand glowing with the evident marks of dancing together in a circle, Vrindavan announces the manifold pastimes of Govinda. And here again, age 13 to 14. This is a direct quote from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. In the sky of Krishna, there was a powerful rising sun, and how this rising sun is minimizing the rays of our chastity moon. This is spoken, of course, by the gopis. Our attraction for Krishna is so intense that it is drying up the lotus flower of our discrimination, and we are losing our senses in deciding whether we shall continue as chaste women or be victimized by the beauty of Krishna. Now, the end of his Kaishora age, 15 to 16, all of his limbs become even more alluring. He has 3 lines clearly manifest on his navel. Tried to find a painting where you could see that. His chest steals the radiance of a boulder from the emerald mountain. What poetry. His arms agitate the pride of sapphire pillars. 3 folds of skin on his abdomen shame the beauty of the Yamuna's delicate waves, and his thighs surpass the trunks of banana trees. Defeating the 5 arrows of Cupid, he makes the women lose all composure. He is the playground of the 64 arts. And this time can also be called Navayovana. So Yovana can be considered after age 16, or 15 to 16 can also be called Navayovana, fresh youth. So the gopis were saying that Krishna's attraction was like an attack of demons. And they say, Krishna, please save us from this demon attack of your own beauty. So they're saying, Krishna, your beauty is attacking us. You please save us from being attacked by your beauty. So Krishna was the ruling prince for 6 features of conjugal loving affairs: peacemaking, picking a quarrel, going to meet one's lover, sitting together, separation, and support. And there's in Nectar devotion, there's some mistake of scratching with the nails of parrots. Actually, it should be dispatching messages by using parrots. There's some kind of editing error there. Okay, end of his Kaishora age. Oh, Krishna, today your age of youth in the role of guru is teaching the golden gopis the art of whispering in each other's ears, the method of making verses for praise of messengers when alone, cleverness in cheating husbands, practice in sneaking to the forest at night, deafness to the words of elders, and rapid hearing of the flute sounds. Okay, I hope you have made some note of which of these 5 ages, the Kumara, Poganda, or the 3 levels of Kaishora, you find most attractive. And I'd like you to think about also why. So we're going to go into groups. Let me just set this up. We set it up again when I have the first. Okay. So you're going to have 10 minutes in your group. Please talk about which age and why. So each of you will have like 2 minutes. All right, Krishna. So Srila Rupa Goswami is going to look at a couple of other things, taken out of the list of the 64 qualities that he described as in the Alambana. He's separately picked out specifically for Udipana Krishna's ages. And here he's specifically picking out Krishna's beauty. So again, this is considering Krishna's beauty separately. Instead of Krishna, who is beautiful, Krishna's beauty and the ornaments on the body of Krishna were not actually enhancing his beauty, but the reverse, the ornaments were beautified by Krishna. This is something we hear a lot, that Krishna beautifies his ornaments. Generally, people wear ornaments to make themselves look more beautiful. But Krishna is so beautiful that he beautifies his ornaments. Another quality that he looks at is mildness, that even when Krishna touches some new shoots, that his limbs become bruised and torn. So, so mild, so delicate. Then we have the category of all of his activities, chesta. So, like the Rasalila, the killing of demons, and other pastimes. So, there's probably particular pastimes of Krishna that we're especially attracted to, some aspect of his beauty, some aspect of his form. That I mean, I particularly, I'm particularly like this quality of Krishna, his mildness, his softness, something that I personally like to meditate on. How Krishna's in the wrestling arena of Kamsa with the wrestlers, and he's so strong, but yet he's very soft. He's very mild. He's not like somebody who works out at a gym who looks like a gorilla. And if we think about Krishna's activities, so I mean, we like all of Krishna's activities, but there's some that we may particularly like. Like here we have a painting of Krishna putting his left arm into the mouth of Keshi. So Srila Rupa Goswami writes elsewhere, I think it's in the Hamsadutta, that, well, this painting's not actually not accurate because it's showing Krishna putting his right arm in Keshi. Actually, Krishna puts his left arm in Keshi. And Srila Rupa Goswami says that he has teeth marks on his upper left arm permanently from having done that. And that's something that I really like to meditate on, that particular pastime and that aspect of his form. Here we have Krishna going into Agasura. What's nice, what I like about that is how Krishna didn't want the cowherd boys to go into Agasura, but they wanted him to be a hero. So they went into Agasura so he could display his heroic activities. I mean, I have many pastimes of Krishna that I'd like to see. I'd love to see the pastimes of Varaha. I really like that in the Nrsingadev movie, to see Varaha coming out of the nostril of Krishna and expanding and picking up Bhumi Devi. I'd love to see the fight between Karna and Arjuna. I don't think I'd like to be in the fight, but I think I'd like to see it. How how no one knew that Karna was Kunti's son. I mean, I like Krishna dancing on Kaliya. I have these pictures up. These are some of my favorite pastimes. I like the idea of seeing Krishna as a dancer, kicking down the chief 100 hoods of Kaliya, and how the reddish, Krishna's reddish lotus feet was defeating the jewels on the heads of Kaliya. I like meditating in Gaura Lila on how Lord Chaitanya is dancing in the Rath Yatra. His tears are squirting out like syringes, and he's dancing in 7 different parties simultaneously. So those are ones that I really like. So we're going to have a breakout group. I'd like you to think about and talk about at least one, everyone should pick one, if you can pick more than one, pastime that you really find inspiring, some pastime of Krishna that you'd really like to see. If there's some pastime of Krishna that you'd really like to see, that you would really like to participate in. By the way, if I find a group where there's hardly anybody in it, I move you to a different group. So we're going to take 10 minutes again to discuss which of Krishna's pastimes, it can be any incarnation of Krishna, which of Krishna's pastimes particularly inspire you in your service. And there may be a belt.
What is an uncut piece of cloth?
I have no idea.
The dhoti.
Well, that would be unsewn.
Okay.
And maybe this actually means sewn and unsewn. That's very possible that it means sewn and unsewn. I thought I had turned on the recording before. So if the recording wasn't before, I'm going to just go back for the people watching the recording and go through this quickly then, if that's all right, just for the recording. Okay, so we're looking at clothing, ornaments, decorations, other things, various types of outfits, two-piece outfit. Here's a two-piece outfit and the description, the four-piece outfit, and the multi-piece outfit. Yeah, I could look up the Sanskrit. Cut and uncut might mean sewn and unsewn rather than cut and uncut. And different accessories. So a kalpa. So this can include hairstyles, applied cosmetics. So you see, this is different than we were talking earlier about Krishna's form with his nails and teeth that appeared spontaneously. They weren't applied. So this is applied cosmetics, garlands, body tilaka, tilaka on the forehead, betel nut preparations, and imitation lotuses. So hair accessories. This was also hard to find because generally painting deities and paintings, Krishna has wearing a turban or a crown. So you don't generally just see his hair. And I couldn't find pictures of examples of all of these. So tying the hair at the back of the neck, like a ponytail, binding flowers in the hair, binding the hair at the knot and the knot at the top, and braiding the hair. So my great grandsons the other day had their hair braided. They're 5 and 7 years old, and they had braids in their hair. We see Krishna's curls. So this can be an udipana. The other day the deities here. Krishna had his hair in this is the deity here where I'm staying right now, Golokananda. But the other day he had lots and lots of curls. And I said to the pujari, "Wow, those curls are amazing." And she said, "Yeah, it took me 3 hours to curl his hair, and I was in ecstasy the whole time." So that's Krishna's hair is an udipana. If you're there as the pujari, spending 3 hours making Krishna's hairstyle, and you're focused on Krishna's hair, that's an udipana. Okay. Krishna's accessories, cosmetics, white, multicolor, yellow. Pulp of sandalwood generally appeared to be white. It was mixed with saffron dye, it appeared to be yellow. So, of course, and this is just looking at the accessories themselves. So this is not looking at the decorations on Krishna. That's a different category. But this is just looking at the cosmetics. So you've got a tray with the different cosmetics for decorating Krishna, and this acts as an udipana, acts as a stimulant that impels your love for Krishna and Krishna's garlands. So Krishna's garlands. So we have the Vajayanti, which to the knees or feet, that have at least 5 different colors. It's a victory garland. Or a shorter garland over the chest, and a garland around his top knot, and more hanging from the neck. So it's not as low as the Vajayanti garland. It's hanging from the neck. And the garlands can be made of jewels instead of flowers, and they can be made of forest flowers. So there's a difference between the kind of flowers you're going to cultivate in a garden and the kind of flowers you're going to find in the forest growing wild. So Krishna often likes to wear vanamali, likes to wear a forest garland. So again, meditating on these as udipana, making the garland, you're the garland maker. I was in Pune recently, and they have so many deities with so many garlands, They had 35 people every day spending up to 6 hours making all these garlands. So they're meditating, what flowers, how am I going to make the garland? And that's their udipana. Then Krishna's accessories. So this is now the cosmetics applied on him. So body tilak, yellow, white, and reddish, filled with pictures of makaris. We talked about a makara before. This is a picture of a makara. So again, we have the cosmetics separately as a stimulant for love of Krishna, and then we have the cosmetics as they're applied on Krishna. But this will also again be mentioned separately. So this is body tilak and forehead tilak. Then his other accessories. So the betel nut that he is chewing and his play lotuses. So this time, instead of breaking into groups, I think we could have a general discussion or questions. I mean, look at this picture. This is Krishna in Hungary, Shamasundar, and you can see so many of these things here, right? Krishna's hairstyle, his ornaments. Look at all these decorations on him, right? So many things. Here's Mother Yasoda, eh, feeling ecstatic, dressing Krishna, right? All of his different things. I want to open this up now to the group. So if any of you want to share in a chat, if you want to share in the chat, or if you want to raise your hand and share in the group, something that you find, any of these things that you find really increase your love for Krishna, or any questions that you have. So it's both the time if you want to ask questions and if you would like to just suggest something that really inspires you in service, or you could talk about someone else you know who's really inspired. I have my daughter is really inspired by making Krishna's garlands, the deity's garlands, and especially she likes making the garlands that go on their hair. So Radha Krishna's garlands that go on their hair, and she says it's one of the things that enlivens her most in Krishna consciousness is making the garlands that go on Radha Golokananda's hair and dressing them with those hair garlands. So yes, Paneshwari Lakshmi.
When you said, if I know of a devotee, I know of a devotee who just is a fantastic dresser of the deities here, Radha
Mm.
Giridhari, and he's always meditating about on that. And just listening to him talk about what he's doing and what he's thinking is so enlivening. I mean, I wish I
Wow.
was him. I wish I was with him, or, I said, I want to be on the altar with you when you're dressing the deities, so I can just see you enjoying that whole process. It's
Yeah,
it's
how wonderful.
amazing.
So you're enlivened by that devotee being enlivened by these. Okay, very nice. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Somebody else. Okay, no, Rishi, I like that he dresses like a dramatic dancer. Yeah, so that's especially the multiplicity of the clothing, more than four items of clothing, and not only more than four items of clothing, but a lot of decorations. And so you're really bringing together, in Rishi, you're bringing together a lot of these things, right? The clothing, the garlands, the jewelry, that's that all a lot of these together as Udipana. Okay, somebody else? Yes, Nardarishi.
Hare Krishna. Regards the tilaka can be white, red, yellow, red. I wonder if there's a specific occasion when that changes, or
Ooh, I have no idea, but what a nice question. What a nice question. It would certainly seem that there might be certain festivals when there's certain colors or maybe matching certain outfits.
I notice in the
Okay,
pictures you shared, the deities are a lot of red, but I usually see yellow or
yes, yes, often see red or yellow is the most common that you'll see on the deities. And we have Ranga Rama Prabhu says Gopa Veshdhari. So when Krishna is dressed up to herd the cows, and especially his turban that he has, there's such a nice descriptions of Krishna's turban that like before he jumps in the Yamuna to fight with Kaliya, that he adjusts his belt and he adjusts his turban. I also particularly like meditating on Krishna's belt, the cloth, and the jewelry. And there's also a nice description of when Krishna's milking the cows, that he's leaning against the side of the cow. And when he does that, his turban gets pushed to the side and some of his curls fall out. So something I really like to meditate on. So this is both the turban and the hairstyle. Yes, Mahalakshmi.
Okay, I like to meditate upon Krishna's ankle bells, ankle, not only in the ankle, but also in his um, wrist, waist, and I'm not sure if he has ankle bells in or bells in his arms, but the tinkling, I would like really to hear the tinkling of his bells in the ankle
Hmm.
and in the
At
flute,
least
maybe.
it's on his ankles and his waist for
Yes,
sure.
ankles and his belt. This is what we know.
His waist. Yeah.
I like
And we
that.
know, right, Krishna wears them at different times, right? We know even as a little baby, he's walking around and his ankle bells are tinkling. And
And
wasn't that?
while dancing, he has ankle bells.
Oh, yes, definitely. Definitely. There's that pastime with Gauranga Mahaprabhu where Jagannath Mishra and Sachi hear ankle bells and they say, but our little Nimai, he doesn't have ankle bells. Where is this ankle bell sound coming from? And they say, well, maybe our Shalagam Shila is manifesting a form and walking around the house and ringing his ankle bells. Srujana?
Hare Krishna Mataji, I have a doubt, Mataji.
Yes.
Does Krishna in Navakishora form, does he also carry stick along with him? Well, he's going with the cows, like
If he's herding the cows, for sure. If he's not herding the cows, then probably not. So
normal.
if he's just
No,
out,
no.
if he's out in the middle of the night dancing with the gopis, I don't think he brings his cow herding stick. But in the middle of the
Yeah.
day, he's going to bring it. The
Yes,
cows
yes.
aren't in the forest at nighttime.
Also, Mataji, I wanted to tell something.
Yes.
I like the Mangala Aarti Darshan form of Krishna Mataji, than normal Shringar Aarti Darshan, where Krishna will be wearing a simple one garland and like only dhoti and pagdi in a simple, beautiful way.
Mm. Yeah, I also like that. I also like that, in the Mangalarti Darshan, that sometimes Krishna only has two items of clothing. Sometimes just that, right? That was the two outfit and
Yes,
very,
yes,
very simple. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Very, very
yes.
simple. And that can also be like, whoa, look at that, Krishna.
Mm.
Yes.
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Very nice. And we have Soninya Raman who says, we look upon the lotus. Now we jump down. When we look upon the lotus flower, we could remember Nama Pankaja Nabaya, Nama Pankaja Maline, his eyes, lips, and feet, and everything like a lotus. Yes, so that can be that the lotus that Krishna's carrying, right? The play lotus that he's carrying, just for playing with. That reminds us of Krishna. We have Padma Pavitra in the chat says Krishna's forehead, beautiful designs just about the eyebrows. And Sri Devi Gaurangi says, Darshan view of the deities reminds on us Madhurastakam. Oh, yes. Yes, yes. I'd love if there was like a book of the Madhurastakam with pictures for each of the, yeah. His lips are sweet, his face is sweet, eyes is sweet, smile is sweet, heart is sweet, walk is sweet. Yes. Flute playing. Well, we're not there yet, Mahalakshmi. You're jumping ahead to another part of the PowerPoint. That's the next section. Okay,
Oh,
Paneshwari Lakshmi.
I had a question.
Yes.
So my question is, can we're attracted, or it's, can we be attracted to one specific deity? For example, we have a very strong connection to Radha Giridhari, the deity
Mm,
itself, just the whole, I want to say
definitely.
there's a history there. There's a history there, I want to say, where
Definitely.
I have, you know, requested, been there, asked him, supplicated, all those other things there.
Oh,
So can we
definitely.
have, okay, okay.
Definitely, definitely. I know one devotee, actually, she's born in a European country, lives in Europe, and she's particularly attracted to Radharaman in Vrindavan. So she's especially attracted to Radharaman. Of course, sometimes we get attached to a particular deity because we've done a lot of service for that deity. We've been there, done a lot of service. But also, it's stated by Lord Brahma that the Lord appears in whatever form we particularly worship him. And we do tend to have an affinity for seeing Krishna in a particular way. So when Krishna married the 16,100 queens simultaneously, that his form was slightly different in each wedding because of how the queens liked to see him. So definitely. Okay, and Gokaleshwari Harini says his curly hair. Yes, Krishna's curly hair. And of course, there's descriptions in the literatures by the Goswamis of how Krishna's servants are washing his hair and drying his hair and then recurling his hair. Asutosh, yes.
Hare Krishna
Asutosh, Prabhu.
Mataji. So
Hare Krishna.
one thing that I very feel very connected is with Krishna's eyes. I believe
Oh,
I read it somewhere that Prabhupada mentioned it's dark black, but he
mm,
took a pause when one of the artists who was drawing a picture asked Prabhupada like what color is Krishna's eyes.
mm,
So and adding to that the beauty of the redness which is to the sides, it
mm.
it is so beautiful. Like you look into it and then you are lost. That is like a world to you. So one of the I can say bhavas or the attractiveness which really captures me is his eyes.
Oh, how wonderful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, we're going to go on now to the miscellaneous. So this is the various categories. And this is not meant to be exhaustive. This is not meant to be exhausted. There can be many, 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 many other things that can be udipanas for us. And of course, even the things in this world. We see the sun, we remember it's Krishna's eye, we drink water, Krishna's the taste of water. I mean, practically for the elevated devotees, and as we advance, everything should actually become an udipana for us. And the neophyte devotees, so it's not just advanced devotees, it's interesting. Seeing everything as an udipana is meant for both the beginners and the advanced, that the beginners can meditate on Krishna as the taste of water and the light of the sun, and the advanced devotees also see Krishna everywhere. Okay, so we're going to look at these, the jeweled ornaments. So Krishna's ornaments, his crowns, his earrings, his necklaces, brooches, bracelets, rings, armbands, and anklets. As we go through here, also please think about which of these particularly, and you can look again at this whole list, you can think of which of these particularly are inspiring for you. So it's a colorful belt. To say, I really like Krishna's belt. I like Krishna's cloth belts. I like Krishna's jewel belts. Incomparable diadem. Diadem is like a crown. That's a particular type of crown. Earrings of alluring diamonds. Pearl necklace. Spotless bracelets. A pearl-studded brooch. A brooch is like a pin that goes on. Delightful rings and anklets filled with sweetness. So more ornaments. So decorations can also be made of flowers, sylvan or forest ornaments. And Krishna was dressed like this not only in Vrindavan, but even on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He was wearing some forest ornaments. And Srila Rupa Goswami quotes, Lord Krishna was going to the battlefield of Kurukshetra not to fight, but to grace all of the devotees with his presence. So there's another kind of ornament. So there was the tilak separately, and here's the tilak designs. So in other words, the tilak itself as an udipana, and then the various tilak designs. And I really like the tilak design. Some of you already mentioned this. And I like meditating on how Krishna has this mark from Keshi on his upper left arm, and that here you see in his upper left arm, he's got an ornament that this would be covering or accentuating the teeth marks left by the Keshi demon. Here you see the Makara earrings very clearly, but all of these, here you see this yellow, white tilak and yellow designs. Here, designs of all different colors. Here, various colors, and here, the forehead decorations. We have something showing up in the chat. Ah, someone wrote me a private message. I don't know if you meant to write that to me privately. Meditate on his lotus feet decorated with paintings, on his face painted. Yes, very nice. Okay, I got another message. Just answering a private message here. Okay, his smile. It's interesting to me that his smile is considered as a separate category. Krishna's smiles in Udipana. His gentle smiles which remove all pain by producing an unbroken stream of rasa of the highest bliss and emitting an unrestricted ocean of nectar. So a stream of rasa, an ocean of nectar. And it says that the gopis felt that they could die as they could not express how much they were attracted to this smile, and they felt they could die for the fear of elders, or they could die from the depth of ecstasy. And from the fear of elders, they can express when there's a demon, because it's a clear danger, but they cannot express when there's a smile. And this is one of my favorite sections of the Bhagavatam, where Lord Kapila is talking about how we can meditate on the form of the Lord. And he says, a yogi should meditate on the most benevolent smile of Lord Sri Hari, a smile which, for all those who bow to him, dries away the ocean of tears caused by intense grief. So look at this. We have, this smile is giving an ocean of nectar. And although he's giving an ocean of nectar, he's drying up the tears, the ocean of tears from all the grief in this world. Then his limbs, all of his limbs are giving off an unprecedented river of fragrance that flows everywhere, which causes the hairs of the self-satisfied sages to stand on end. And of course, Krishna's fragrance is described in various places, but that he has the fragrance of chatusama, which is 2 parts of musks, 4 parts of sandalwood, 3 parts of a guru, 1 part of camphor. It's also explained that he has blue lotus fragrance in places like his armpits. So it's all different descriptions of Krishna's fragrance, which also acts as an udipana. Often the gopis will say, we know Krishna was here because his fragrance is still here. Now here, Mahalakshmi, we have the flute. So his flute insistently preaches respect for or challenges the rule of Cupid. There's Cupid on his parrot, breaks the meditation of the sages, and criticizes the sweetness of nectar. So Srila Rupa Goswami describes the different flutes. The Venu, 9 inches long and named Pavika. The flute has a name because it's a person. Murali, 18 inches with the hole at the end and 4 holes on the body of the flute. Vamsika, 12.75 inches with 8 holes for playing notes and a hole for blowing. And we have other flutes. One of jewels is the Mahananda, great delight, Sammohini, enchanter. Longer, it's called Akarshani. I know devotees who have these names. I know a devotee named Sammohini. I know a devotee named Akarshani, made of gold One's even longer, made of bamboo, is called Anandini. I actually know a lot of devotees who are named Anandini. The Anandini flute is very pleasing to the cowherd boys and is technically named Bamshuli. I don't know anybody named Bamshuli. They sometimes have jewels, sometimes they're made of marble, sometimes of hollow bamboo. I have a couple of bamboo flutes from my Govardhan Chila, really small bamboo flutes. And again, these are the flutes as in Udipana. You're seeing the flutes, you're hearing the flute. Perhaps, no, I don't hear Krishna's flute, but seeing the flutes. Again, we can think of, people doing pujari service. Horn of buffalo, horn of antelope, horn of other animals, gold coloring at both ends. I only found a picture of a silver coloring. Jewel inlay in the middle called mandraghosha, rumbling thunder. Now here we have Taravali, one of the gopis, that she was bitten by this snake, metaphorically, of Krishna's flute, and then she wanted to drink the milk of the buffalo horn sound, but that then she got into even more ecstasy. I love all the poetic metaphors and allegories. She hoped the milk would counteract the poison, but it increased it. And the ankle bells, this was, of course, already mentioned, the sound of the leg bells of Krishna. I wanted to go see him, and then my elders stopped me. The Panchajanya. One devotee here just had a baby, and they named him Panchajanya. So when Krishna blows his conch shell, the wives of the demons have miscarriages, and the wives of the demigods are blessed. Krishna's footprints. Akura seeing Krishna's footprints. Oh, this is the dust from my master's feet. His places. Even without visiting, simply hearing the name in Mathura, I become overwhelmed with joy. His devotees. Dhruva seeing two associates of Narayan, Gopi seeing Subal, a friend of Krishna. We're talking about how Srimati Radharani, she's saying, when Krishna can put his arm on Subal, but I can't do that, and that was Nudipana. And again, making this distinction, the devotees who have the same mood as ourselves are the Alambana Ashraya. Devotees with different moods are Udipana. Then Janmastami and Ekadasi, and was also mentioned Tulsi Maharani. So these days are Udipana. I'm looking forward to Janmastami. I'm looking forward to Ekadasi, and this becomes an Udipana for us. And also Tulsi Maharani. All of these. So we looked at, okay, let's take a few minutes. We can have this as a whole group discussion again. Any of these that anybody would like to talk about for themselves, for other people that they know, or any questions on any of these Udipanas. Now, Mahalakshmi, you can talk about the flute.
Well, so I would like to experience the sound of Sammohini, which is enchanting everyone, and Anandini, which is very pleasing. Just listening
that would
at
be nice to
sound,
experience that, yeah?
those flutes.
Sujana?
Hare Krishna Mataji. Mataji, I would like to say Tulasi, the Charan Tulsi of Krishna, the Chandan Charan Tulsi, which is placed
Mm,
on the lotus feet of Krishna, which is, I feel
mm.
it is more attractive.
Oh, very nice. Yes, yes. The Tulsi
And
that's
also,
been, yes.
yes, and also, while taking Dairi Darshans, like Krishna will be wearing different flutes, uh, the fishtail flute, different types of flutes here in temple, Radha Madhava temple, and
Mm.
then like it every day it will be curious which flute Krishna is wearing.
Oh, that's
It's
so
so
nice.
beautiful.
That's so nice. When the curtain opens, you're thinking, oh, which flute is Krishna going to have today? Wonderful.
Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful.
Correct.
Wonderful. Yes, very nice. And you see the deities, sometimes they have small flutes, sometimes they have long flutes with different
Yes, yes.
decorations.
And different
Yes.
festivals, different types of flutes.
Mm.
And sometimes Krishna won't be having flute, and flute is on the hand of Radharani, Shrimati Radharani.
Yes. So there's so
And
many
then
stories from our acharyas of the
yes,
gopis stealing the flutes.
yes, Mataji. Hare
Yes.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Nada Rishi?
Yeah, Hare Krishna. I have another question about tilak.
Okay, good. I don't know if I can answer this one either, but okay.
No, I see sometimes whether in a painting or deity, usually the deity has just the not the tulasi, just this part, and sometimes like in the paintings, the tulasi is marked. I just wonder if there's a standard for that or some explanation for how Krishna
The
wears
only
tilak.
thing I can tell you about that is that there's different styles of tilak for different sampradayas and different parts of a sampradaya. So, like when Shamananda saw Srimati Radharani, she used her ankle bell to create a new kind of tilak for him, which was upsetting to his Diksha guru, Hriday Chaitanya. Why are you wearing this new kind of tilak? And you'll see in Manipur where the line of Shamananda Pandit. I mean, they're also Gaudiya Vaishnavas, but their particular line, they wear their tilak a little differently. You'll see in Vrindavan. And if you go to Manipur, they're Gaudiya Vaishnavas, but they're coming from the line of Narottama Das Thakur. They also wear their tilak a little differently. So why does exactly Krishna wear it like that? I don't know. Again, this is way above my pay grade. When I get to Goloka Vrindavan, I'll ask him. Prabhupada wrote this letter to Ekayani, and Ekayani had written a bunch of questions. And Prabhupada answered some of them, and at the end he said, better you chant Hare Krishna, go to Goloka Vrindavan, and get the answers for yourself. So some of these questions, I'm going to give you that answer that Prabhupada gave. But it's kind of like, if you go to a different university, so they have a different, like logo. So the university where I went here, where I got my graduate degree, they call themselves the Tar Heels. I assume that was because originally in North Carolina there was a lot of tar, and when you walked around, you got it on your heels of your feet. But that's a guess. Anyway, they call themselves the Tar Heels, and so
What
their
is
logo,
star? What is
tar, sticky
star?
black stuff,
Oh,
like is used. It's similar to asphalt that you'd use on a road. So their logo is a blue foot with a black circle on the heel, that a tar heel. So when people go to the sporting games, they'll often draw on their face this blue foot with a black spot on the heel for the Tar Heels. And where I live, there's this competition that goes on between University of North Carolina and Duke University. They're like rivals. They're friendly rivals, but they're rivals. And I think it's the Duke Devils, and so they have a little devil logo. And my point is that the different universities, they have these different signs, and so if you're going to the game, you're going to the basketball game, you're going to the football game, a lot of the, not all of the fans, obviously, but a lot of the fans, they're wearing these different logos or different colors that you can tell what team they're rooting for. So these different types of tilaks actually indicate our particular line. They're all generally about the same, but they still indicate what line you're in, what sampradaya you're in. They're kind of like a school logo, really, if you think of a sampradaya as a school. Okay, we have in the chat, Goloshri Harni. Whenever we get good fragrance, reminds us of Krishna, how nice the Lord will smell. Yes, of course, Krishna says he's the fragrance of the earth. So all of the things we smell in oils and in flowers and incense can all be inudipana and remind this is Krishna's fragrance. Actually, all these fragrances are Krishna's fragrance. What to speak of Krishna's personal fragrance? And there's one devotee, haven't heard from him in years, but he used to regularly send me quotes from the Shastra about Krishna's fragrance and Radharani's fragrance and the different parts of their form and the different fragrances that they have. Musk is used, yes. Now, nowadays, they get musk by killing the musk deer, and there's a lot of restriction on how many musk deer can be killed. So it's very hard to get musk nowadays. It's very expensive, and it's a product of violence. You can still get some ahimsa musk. I have some ahimsa musk oil that's like 400 years old. And almost all the musk that you're going to buy today is it's fake musk. It's from plants that have a musk type smell, but it's not anywhere close. When you smell the real musk and that comparison, there's no comparison. And what's one thing that strikes me about Krishna's fragrances is they're wild. The chatusama, so musk comes from an animal and it smells very animally. And then sandalwood, camphor, and aguru all come from trees. None of those are flower fragrances. They're very masculine. All four of those are extremely masculine fragrances, and they're all very woodsy fragrances. Now, of course, Krishna also has flower fragrances, like he has blue lotus fragrance under his arms and things like that. Paneshwari Lakshmi.
I was just thinking of when his flute playing, I always look at his hands. So whenever I
Mm,
see Krishna, flute is what attracts me. And of course, I would love to hear the music of the flute, but the way he holds the flute so delicately, particularly his right hand, the way we see it, his fingers, the way they are, it's like the first thing that I look at when I come to see the deities. It just completely attracts me. And also the other question I have is, you didn't mention, like, there's no mention of sidelong glances. We, hear that a lot. And it just reminds me one day I had asked my grandson who was his favorite. This is when he was very, very young. I don't know, two
mhm.
years old. And he gave this look. I mean, and I knew he's very attached to my husband. And he looked at him in this sidelong glance that just completely blew me away. And immediately I thought of, oh my God, this is what they mean when they say that Radharani looks at him in a sidelong glance or Krishna looks at him. And I was thinking, if this little boy looking at his grandfather can give me that much of a thrill, I mean, I can't explain the feeling. It's not thrill is not the right word. I was thinking, how much more
Yes.
there's not a word to express it.
No, no, you were experiencing a rasa. You were experiencing rasa at your grandson and this, so your grandson himself and the this Udipana, and then you're thinking how much more enjoyable would this be as spiritual rasa if we can experience that much rasa from a jiva, then how much rasa can we experience from Krishna? Now, I'm glad you brought up about sidelong glances because these are the general udipanas. This list that Srila Rupa Goswami is giving here in the Southern Ocean are general udipanas. And he's not mentioning all of the possible udipanas. No way. Not even close. I mean, he's mentioning these general categories of udipanas. So these general categories cover everything because you've got a miscellaneous category. So once you have a miscellaneous category, that covers everything. When he's going to be looking in the Southern Ocean at each of the staibavs, and he's going to be looking in the northern, each of the primary staibavs, neutrality, servitorship, friendship, parental, conjugal, and then when he looks in the Northern Ocean at each of the 7 secondary staibavs, he's going to be listing what specific form of Krishna is the Vishaya for that staibhav, what specific chief devotees are the ashraya. He usually gives an example of 1 or maybe 2 devotees as an ashraya. Then he gives examples of specific udipanas for that staibhav and specific anubhavs. Tomorrow we're going to study the anubhavs, specific anubhavs and specific sattvika bhavs. And then he goes into the details of that staibhav, the degrees of the staibhav, and meeting and separation of the staibhav. So each of the saibabs, each of the basic relationships with Krishna have their particular, and then look, it comes down to the individual. Because Srila Goswami doesn't talk that much about the conjugal rasa in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. He talks about it much more in Ujjwala Nilamani. Ujjwala Nilamani is Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu for just conjugal rasa, greatly expanded. And there he talks about over 360 categories of gopis and queens. And he says there's, ultimately there's as many as there are jivas. So each jiva, as Srila Sanatana Goswami says in that commentary in the 13th or 14th, I think it's in the 13th chapter of the 10th canto, that Krishna has unlimited qualities and there are unlimited jivas, and each jiva is attracted to a particular quality. So each of us as individuals, we're going to share some of the udipanas with other jivas, but then there's going to be certain ones that really are for us.
I have one other
Explain
question.
how Radharani cooks for Krishna. Not right now, because this class has to end in 30 seconds. Flowers decorating Padashringa are decorated with flowers instead of ornaments. Yes, that's also very enlivening. Okay, I'm not going to take any more questions or discussions now. Sorry about that. And I'd like to try to end on time. So again, this is the 5 components of rasa in Sanskrit and in English. And tomorrow, Krishna willing, we are going to be looking at Anubhava. So we just have one class here about Anubhava. Do keep in mind that all of the external voluntary services we do for Krishna are in the category of Anubhava. So anything good in this presentation is coming from Srila Prabhupada, Srila Rupa Goswami, commentaries of Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, commentaries of Srila Jiva Goswami, our other acharyas and the Shastra. Anything wrong in this presentation is my own mistake. Please either correct my mistakes or ignore them. And I hope you can take this good and feel enlivened in your spiritual life. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.